Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor as we preview the best of the action from the Guineas Festival at Newmarket. Being joined in the studio by the monochrome mix here, Declan and Sam Boswell. Sam, you've been jet setting here, there and everywhere. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Kate. Managed to sneak a little bit at Punchestown in this week. Well done to Willie Mullins, who claimed our £50,000 bonus.
How are you feeling in BetVictor Tower?
I'm assuming that's no Weekend Winners next year.
Yeah,
it's
come
still
off,
in a job.
It's come off Rixie's pay packet, that. No, Punchestown was great. But last time I saw you, Kate, was about 50 yards away at Wembley. And I think it's fair to say...
He's gone early.
Looking forward to heading back to Wembley myself.
Why did I not think that was coming? It feels like a lifetime ago. I managed to just compartmentalise it to the back of my mind. It was such a dull performance from Villa. Fair play to your fans. I didn't realise Crystal Palace had ultras, but apparently you do all the same. No doubt you were one of the ones behind the goal. I
was in corporate, so I'm not going to lie. I was enjoying myself too much, but no, it was a good game. But yeah, Punchestown's been fantastic, and obviously all attention turns back to the flat. And well done, Rixie, winning that last week.
Yeah, thank you, Moyal. Yeah, I got a good ride from Sam James, I thought. So, yeah, the form was good on the flat. So, Nap went in last week and the week before the long shot went in. So, hopefully we can continue with the Guineas. I'm excited. I'm buzzing about the flat. Yeah?
I can tell. You've been buzzing the whole way through the jump season for the flat. So now it's finally come about. Your next best bet is going to be the one that we all need to be on then to complete the hat.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully we'll stick up a big price. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm excited. 23 years on from Hawkwing, cruelly denied in the Guineas. But time's a great healer.
Definitely. And BetVictor have an offer as well.
We do. Big weekend of racing. You can check this out on the At The Races site, actually. We've taken over that for the weekend. It's bet 10, get 50 in bonuses. Just put that tenner on at Punchestown. You can see there'll be T's and C's on the screen there. They do apply. But yeah, best of luck if you're having a flutter this weekend. If you've not got a BetVictor account, one to potentially get involved in some week at Punchestown. Obviously, we're recording this ahead of Constitution Hill's return this evening, which is very exciting.
Very, very exciting. Yeah, every day at Punchestown is so exciting, isn't it? But notably today as well. But do take advantage then of that offer from BetVictor as well. And as we've said, the last sentence there on the offer, please do remember to gamble responsibly. And on this show as well, with the tips that we're giving you, they are just guidelines more so than anything else to help steer you in the right direction. Right, we're going to begin with the 220 at Newmarket. This is the Suffolk Stakes Heritage Handicap for the 4-year-olds and over 9 furlongs. 100 to 30 the field, headed by Hand of God in this one, Sam. Yeah,
you were hopeful that there would be no more football references, Kate, I assume, but Hand of God snuck in there, hasn't he? Market leader. I'm really keen on the market leader. I've got plenty of respect for a few in here, but I just think Harry Charlton's horse, he arrives here, the team are in good form, and Ryan Moore, whoever he's booked for, is always an eye-catcher. And we're seeing him win in similar conditions to what we can expect the ground to be. I think it's fair to say at HQ this weekend. This came on good to firm at Ascot, was an impressive win. Ryan booked to ride, who is second most profitable trainer to ride for is Harry Charlton. Harry and Roger, if you go back over the last 5 years. Only Dave Evans is better. If you're backing Ryan Moore blind, there you go, little useless potentially piece of stat. But the main thing is Ryan's on board. I really like his chances, and it's been gelded now, hasn't he? And I just hope that'll bring out a little bit more improvement. But it could be a big season for him, and I feel like he's certainly going to be one of the stable stars that you could just see taking a step forward after a run like this and improving and making up into a really good level performer.
You know what? I really like that stat. I didn't know that at all about Ryan Moore. I don't think that's useless whatsoever. Bit of trivia. I'm going to steal that for my next case. Can't steal it quite so soon, though, because I'm with Hand of God as well here for various other reasons. And I'm pleased that we look back at that VT as well, because obviously he's a horse where he's had his issues. I was surprised to see the first-time gelding operation for a horse that seemingly was all going the right way, continuing to improve as well. But I guess when you see a horse that is rated 102 in his 3-year-old campaign, is he really going to make up into a stallion? I mean, he could do nowadays, but realistically speaking, probably not, especially with the issues he must have had over time as well. So they've elected to geld him now. And that's also not to say he might not improve further for the gelding operation either. It's just the fact that they've done that when he was on the back of those wins. It was just something that was slightly nagging at me at the back of my mind. But for now, though, benefit of the doubt you have to give him by every means. He's now 3 from 5 in his career, losing the first 2 starts, but since then he just hasn't looked back since his maiden success. And last time out, as we've just been seeing second start in a handicap at Ascot, the Golden Gates handicap at Royal Ascot. And given that he had the high draw, yes, there were non-runners in that, but he still did well to overcome the draw that he was given. And he was also impressive, the headway that he made. So £11 higher, reappearance, gelding operation, but might just be the class act of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at this race and, not a big field. I think there 13 runners and there was quite a few exposed horses in here. I don't think it's a race to go kind of pot hunting for a big price. Hand of God, Arabian Light Approval, I think they're all the ones to concentrate on, and I've got a lot of respect for the horse that you guys have put up. He was good at Ascot. I just thought that race fell apart a little bit. I think there was only 2 or 3 horses in the race that ran the race on the day, and he took a fair hike in the ratings, but he was very good visually, wasn't he? The way he quickened up to it, he put the race to bed very quickly, probably in front too soon. But at the prices, I'm with approval for the Haggis Yard. I think a rating of 92 really does underplay this guy's ability. Now, this is interesting, this race at Windsor, because he made the running this day, and it'll be interesting to see what way Tom Marquand rides him, because the day he won at Goodwood was over 10 furlongs. He was very, very strong at the line. You'd nearly look at him and kind of go, we'll chance 12 at some stage in his career. So whether the drop in trip suits tomorrow, we'll see. But he made the run in this day, so I'm interested to see if Tom will actually bounce him out and go forward on him. Look, he's trained by a top man in William Buick, a top man in William Haggis, a great team, know what they're doing. I just think a rating of 92 underplays him, especially with that Goodwood run, how strongly it worked out. Drop and trip is a potential negative, but at the prices, I thought he was the one to be with. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with approval in this race. But, like I say, I have an awful lot of respect for your horse, Hand of God.
Oh, I'm pleased. I'm very pleased. Thank you.
Thanks for the endorsement.
How courteous of you. I wish I could say the same for approval. No, 11-2, he's got a great chance as well, hasn't he? But 100 to 30 then, Hand of God. For Sam and I, do let us know in the comment section below who you fancy. Right, we're going to switch over to the 255 now at Newmarket. This is the Group 3 Palace House Stakes. 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs. No half measures. Shading favouritism in this competitive betting heat deck.
Yeah, proper competitive, and it's going to be run at a proper gallop as well. There's loads of pace on here. Clarendon House, 7 questions. Washington Heights will probably go forward. Beautiful Diamond as well. There's a few in here just kind of testing the waters over 5 furlongs. Now, I'm absolutely happy to take on no half measures at the top of the betting. That horse looks a 6 furlong horse to me. Beautiful Diamond ran in the race last year. I thought she was really uneasy on the track, and it's probably a sign of her ability that she still managed to go so close. Washington Heights, is he probably best over 6? I suppose we'll see, although with the potential pace collapse in play here, he stays 6. I think that will suit him. But at the prices, I was with Clarendon House now. Yeah, he's a bit of a rogue. Yeah,
I'll take a breath.
Absolutely, yeah, and you're absolutely right to do that, because let's be honest, he looked completely gone at the game last year.
Yeah.
Not that he was there was any issue with him physically or mentally, or maybe there was actually, but he just wouldn't jump out of the stalls. He would never get away on terms. But the Robert Cowell team, and maybe Sean Levy as well, seemingly did a brilliant job with him over the winter, because they got him to break on terms this day at Southwell, and he won, and he showed all his old zest, all his own speed. I think the opening 2 furlongs there were 12 and 79 and 10 and 19. That is pretty rapid stuff, and he is an out-and-out 5 furlong horse. And a couple of those horses there to the head of the betting, I think, are probably going to be better over 6. If he's still sweet mentally and he jumps on terms, I think he's absolutely overpriced at 9 to 1. He's never run at the Rolly Mile, but he's got form at Epsom and Goodwood as well, kind of those up and down tracks. So I'm hoping the undulations won't be too much of a negative for him. And if Shawnee can just get him away on terms and ration his speed, I think he's absolutely overpriced at 6 to 1 for a sprint trainer like Robert Cowell, who is going well.
9 to 1 even.
Okay. What did I say?
6.
Oh, 6, 9, sorry.
We'll give you 6s, Jack, don't worry.
It's a 6 upside down.
Sounds more than happy.
Maybe I priced him up at 6s, that's where I'm going there, but thank you.
Win or bust?
Oh, no, he's win only, yeah.
Yeah, win only type of a horse.
We could know our fate after 50 yards.
Literally, as soon as the stalls open, you will know straight away with Clarendon House. But he has got the ability to be winning this, and what a training performance that would be to get him back sweet again to winning a Group 3. Right, he's thrown us a bit of a curveball there, Sam, who you with?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that from Declan. I was looking at this race, and I thought Andrew Balding's been quite brave here with Tropical Storm, because 3-year-olds don't really appear in this race too often, apart from last year's winner, 7 Questions. And we're going to reflect, I think, here on the Doncaster run where he was 4th, and the form of this race looks to have worked out really quite nicely. Big Mojo was a winner only earlier this week at Ascot, and then we've also had the 3rd here, Magnum Force, won at the Breeders' Cup. So I definitely think he's in and around the right horses. His form on quicker surfaces certainly would tick the boxes as well. Did only win once last year, but I think he ran a number of respectable efforts, and I think it's really curious that they're pitching him in here. Obviously gets a little bit of weight here from being that bit younger, but it's a big ask. It is a big ask, and I think he should be respected. The market respects him at around 7-1, and I thought of the prices, I was willing to chance maybe he's trained on well and can improve, because pitching him in here first time out just looks the deep end for me, but 7 Questions managed it last year. Why can't Tropical Storm?
Yeah, you're bang there with the trends this week, aren't you? Ryan Ball trends, and now the 3-year-old trends in the Palace House Stakes as well. But yeah,
I mean, it's a small sample size. We should add Kate, because I was going through. Yeah, it's not quite a bang fast, but there's not a lot else to go on in terms of looking at other 3-year-olds who haven't tried it. So the fact that other horses haven't tried it makes me think it's a brave call, but he must be showing plenty of home. The only thing I would just caution a note on, Andrew Balding had seemed to start the season banging form. They've gone a little bit quiet now, only around a 4% win rate. So I'm hopeful it's a busy Friday, and hopefully that can tick up a little bit.
Yeah, they did start the season really well. I remember teeing up the stable tour on the Other Races website, and teeing it up with that and the percentage strike rate that was there at that time. And it has just slightly plateaued somewhat, but of course we are getting into the main meat of the season, aren't we? Okay, 7-1 then about Tropical Storm. I'm going to see your 9 and 7-1. I'm going to raise you a 12. Rumsar in here for me. The last time out winner, a horse with a lot of ability, as we know. Now we're going to look back at him at Ascot when he won on the 5th of October. Now this is in the listed Ruse Stakes over 5 furlongs. And it just never looked in doubt for him, which is quite something for a 5 furlong listed race at Ascot, where he travelled oh so strongly into the race. And once in front, he just looked as though he was going to go on and win as he liked. And it was funny how easy the win was really for him, because this was his first win since October 2022. So 2 years prior in the Group 3 Cornwallis Stakes at Newmarket, over the same course and distance he is getting on Saturday. And yes, this Ascot success was on officially soft ground, but we knew that day it was drying up all the time. And the fact he could even win in that manner did also back up the fact that it was drying all the time, because he's a horse where he doesn't mind what the surface is, but he would prefer a quicker surface anyway. So I wouldn't be drawing too many conclusions on the back of a soft ground listed success back when we last saw him as well. So back over this track and trip again, I thought Rumsar was overpriced at 12-1. So 3 different selections.
He's another trainer who started the season well, hasn't he? Johnny Portman, he's going well. Oh yeah, he was on the shortlist as well. I just wondered, the draw on 1, was it a potential negative? I thought a lot of the pace was middle to high here, and just trapped out in the wing. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, sorry, I was kicking you when you're down there. I apologise.
To be fair, like you say, it's so tricky at Newmarket.
Well, that's the thing. We're doing this on a
day before to the day after.
Well, we're doing this on a Friday. We don't know what place we're going to race. I know it's on the near side track, this meeting, but the far side track, the 3-day Craven meeting, I think the first day they were down the stands rail, the second day they were down the middle, and then the other day they were nearly over to the middle to far side. So, viewers are definitely going to have to watch the race themselves Friday and just see how the track is played.
And it may not even help you. Who knows at this point exactly how Newmarket is going to ride from literally one race to the next. But do let us know again in the comment section below who you fancy for that contest. And whilst you're there, also hit subscribe and the bell button as well, so you never miss a notification, I should say. Never get an episode. Never miss an episode.
There we go.
Always get a notification. There you go. Got there in the end, but make sure you subscribe no matter what you're doing anyway. Right, let's move on to the 3:35 then at Newmarket. This is the big one itself. The Group 1 2,000 Guinea Stakes for the 3-year-olds over a mile. Really competitive race this year. 7 for the field though. Field of Gold it is who is heading the way. Now, of course, his sire was Kingman, could only finish second in this race. So can he go one better than his sire, Deck?
Yeah, there's a couple of things in racing as a fan you'd love to see as a neutral. There's one, I'd love to see John Gosling win a Guineas. Yeah. I'd love to see Nicky Henderson win a Grand National. I'd love to see Aidan O'Brien win a Breeders' Cup Classic. Look, he is absolutely the right favourite. I don't know about you guys, but I thought he was sensational in the Craven. I did notice they have a cross noseband on him now, which maybe just gives Kieran Schumacher a little bit more control. He's always been a strong traveller, but the way he carried Kieran through the race was so impressive. The only thing is, we haven't got the biggest field, and I think 6 of the field are making their seasonal debuts. Expanded, Scorty Champ, Shadow of Light, Green Impact, Seagulls 11 is in there, and those are all horses, give or take, to the 4 in the market, and it's just there's plenty of unknowns in there, and I thought there was maybe just enough unknowns to steer away from him at 7-4. But if my horse Green Impact doesn't win, I'll be shouting for Field of Gold and Kieran Schumacher and the Gosdens. I just think Green Impact is interesting physically and also on pedigree. Physically, now you can see him there. He was Jesse Harrington described him as a big lanky teenager, I think, in the build up to the race, but he's really filled out over the winter, and he's progressed, and I just thought he was a thoroughly likeable, professional and mentally mature horse. And sometimes in this game that's absolutely half the battle. The form when he won the KPMG Champions Juvenile at Leopardstown has worked out. Delacroix, who he beat that day, went on to finish a great second in the Futurity. But that was the same day Portafortuna and also Diego Velasquez won over the same course and distance at Leopardstown. So in terms of times and sectionals, we got a very good look at Green Impact, and I thought, that it was a good performance on the clock as well. It showed that he's got a little bit more pace. Now, you could say on pedigree and looking at him, he could ideally be a 10 furlong horse in time, but I think he's a little bit deceptively quick and a little bit deceptively classy, this horse. And if what Jesse Harrington is saying, that he's strengthened and filled out and got a bit stronger, muscle can kind of put more emphasis on speed, and I'm hoping he's a bit quicker. He's got a beautiful style for the track at Newmarket. I think Shale Foley will bounce him out. He'll be nice and prominent, and that's always a kind of a ride that I like at Newmarket. So if the vibes about him are right, I think his form suggests he should be shorter than 16s, and if he's going well, he could be a little bit of a gamble in this race. I can't remember Jessie having too many runners in a 2,000 guineas at Newmarket. So the fact that she's willing to come here with a classy horse, who the owner, Mark Chan, is the first horse he's ever bred as well, and he's got it to a 2,000 guineas. So it's really interesting for me. I hope he's really wintered well, because 16-1 is definitely the bet at the prices for me. But Field of Gold is the most likely winner.
Is the most likely winner, but like I say, every horse has its price.
Yeah.
16-1. And this is a horse that has been mentioned by a few Shrewdies as well. So add your name to that roster as well. Sam, are you likewise?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm a Shrewdy, but Deck's not left me a lot to say, because that's a brilliant argument, because I'm in complete agreement with Green Impact. And it was a price factor, really. And you do just wonder if Jessie's a little bit overlooked here. And she shouldn't be, because she's incredibly capable as a trainer. And I'm a bit surprised there's not been a bit more talk in the lead up about this horse. For all, Field of Gold was very impressive. There's 2 stats you've got to get out of your head, and it's amazing.
You are on the stats this week, isn't he?
Well,
Kate is getting jealous.
I've eaten a stat for breakfast, it feels like. Obviously, John Gosden's record in the race. Now, that's not to say that that's not the reason why Field of Gold can't win this, but actually interesting looking at horses that had won at the Craven meeting that come here. That's quite a poor record. It's something like 2 out of 50 or something. It was a really surprising stat when I looked at it. And also, I'd say you don't necessarily... I started to trick myself into thinking you needed to have had a run now to win a Guineas. I'm not so sure you do. I think it's just recent history suggests that. But you've only got to go back. There's plenty of winners that did arrive here fresh in the last 10 years. So I was a bit conflicted, really. And I did feel 7-4 was short. Ruling Court, another, obviously, that we've seen, 4-1. Both respected. It is a bit strange, is it? We've only got the one from Aidan O'Brien in here at 5-1. We've expanded because the stablemate didn't make it, which is a real shame. But I went round the houses and just felt at 16s, I'd definitely be having a play each way on Green Impact for all the reasons Deck's already listed. I actually thought Wimbledon Hawkeye was a big price as well. I'm not necessarily saying this right for a surprise, but you've got to hope some of these horses that we're seeing first time out will also take a step forward and probably improve for going 2-3. Also, Deck, Green Impact, we had this debate off air. Derby type? There is stamina on that downside.
He's out of a Galileo mare, isn't he? But Wootton Bassett suggests 10 furlongs. But look, I suppose, I don't know. Wootton Bassett over 12 furlongs. I know the good horse of Key Jaraptions was Roger Varian trained.
King of Steel.
King of Steel, yeah, he was wooden battered and then he finished second in a Derby. But yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping not, because if he's a Derby type, he probably won't win the Guineas.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? We tend to think the 2,000 Guineas as your sharper types, and then we think about the 1,000 Guineas as your potential Oaks types. As history has told us in the last few years, these are just your kind of milers, your top-notch milers. So we'll go on to Royal Ascot thereafter, rather than necessarily going to Epsom. So yeah, green impact for the pair of you two then at 16
Are you
to 1.
going to join the boys?
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
absolutely not. No, I feel that this price about Field of Gold is going to divide people. Either people are going to be like you, Sam, and think that's just on the skinny side, or people will think this is a bit of a gimme of a price for a horse that what stones can you really throw at him, apart from perhaps the ground getting a bit quick and perhaps the draw a little bit as well. But yeah, Field of Gold, though, it is to me unoriginal, but he is the horse to beat, so why deviate from that? And of course, as we've all been saying, the only English classic that the great John Gosden is yet to win. We know that he's farmed races such as for St Ledger, but for the 2,000 Guineas, it has eluded him. And it is just the Craven win, really. That is why you want to side with him. So impressive over a horse who I think is very talented, and I agree with you, Sam, is probably overpriced in the form of Wimbledon Hawkeye. But Field of Gold just looked like he had progressed on his return, travelling oh so well through the race and then pulling away inside the final furlong. It was a funny race because loads of them were keen and fresh and gassy and probably doing a bit too much on the front end, but also it actually wasn't that well run a contest. So he had to come from further back, had to continue to change his course of direction throughout the race, but at the same time he was also getting plenty of cover from the wind that day, which was quite strong as well. So you can read that race pretty much however you want and whichever positives or negatives you want to be taking from it as well. So he is a big horse. He appears to have grown into his frame that day as well, likely to go on improving. And as I said previously, his sire Kingman, who was so impressive in his trial ahead of the 2,000 Guineas, couldn't get the job done. Hopefully he doesn't emulate his sire in that sense.
Yeah, I think kind of what's happened with him from 2 to 3 and how he's developed physically is exactly what Sam and I are hoping is going to happen with Green Impact from 2 to 3. So you're kind of looking at pedigrees and you're looking at physiques and hoping for a little bit of luck at the prices. But I was so impressed with him in the Craven. There was a horse of Harry Charlton's won a 6 or a 7 furlong race later on the card. He's a triple-digit rated older horse, and Field of Gold, I think, was 3 lengths quicker than him from 2 out. So he's got pace as well.
Considering where he came from
yeah,
as well.
Exactly. And he was locked up for a lot of that, and he hit the line so strong.
I'll also be having a little save on Wimbledon Hawkeye because he is overpriced at 20s, and a little bit of Seagulls 11 as well, because I'll kick myself if he runs into a place, a monster of a horse. If he's grown into his 3-year-old frame as well, then I thought that he was a little bit overpriced as well. So loads of ways to play the 2,000 Guineas. Let us know who you fancy and how you're playing the race in the comments section below. Right, we're going to switch now across the Atlantic to the Kentucky Derby. Now we're going to Churchill. This race, the main event itself, the Grade 1 contest for the 3-year-olds over the 10 furlongs on the main track, comes up at 11:57 our time. So well done if you managed to stay up for this. It will be well worth your while. All of the build-up, all of the razzmatazz that we tend to expect stateside. And if you watch a lot of stateside as well, you would have had plenty of build-up to this year's Kentucky Derby. Derby is exactly how you pronounce it. Journalism.
This is where your stateside shifts pay off, Katie Tracey. So I'm interested.
Oh, here we go. I know, it's not been too bad, to be fair, in terms of the Breeders' Cup, but the Kentucky Derby it's been a tricky one in the last few years. But again, I'm being very unoriginal here. I just think Journalism's the horse that's going to take all the beating. It's weird when you get to this stage of the Kentucky Derby or a big race like this, and you've got a favourite who's been a long-time favourite now for a while, and people tend to want to throw any stones that they possibly can at a horse. No one's doing that this time around with Journalism, which I think is fascinating in itself. Now, we're looking back at him when he won at Santa Anita on the 6th of April last time out. Now, of course, the race that he really burst onto the scene in was the Grade 2 San Felipe Stakes at Santa Anita on his penultimate start. Now, the bias speed figure he posted in this was in the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby, wasn't actually quite as high. The San Felipe was 108, the field's best speed figure on offer. So this one was still a likeable one all the same, making it 4 in the row in the Santa Anita Derby, despite running up the heels, as we've just seen there, of the long shot pace setter. Had to check. had to recoup them, but then was rolling by the top pair in the end. So he managed to overcome adversity. He's such a tractable horse. You can ride him however you want. We always expect pace in the Kentucky Derby. It's the Kentucky Derby. It's a lunatic race. Even for paced dirt horses, they seem to go an extra half a yard quicker again. So I'm not fussed the fact that he is more of a presser type of a horse. He can have a sustained closing type of a speed as well. I'm kind of glad about that. I don't want him to be an early horse whatsoever. So journalism it would be for the main play. But underneath then, Luxa Cafe at 8-1 here. Now, he's a horse where he actually arrived at Churchill Downs on April the 23rd. So he's had loads of time to acclimate to his surroundings, which has been obviously a good angle to take in then. He is the son of American Pharaoh, so he has the pedigree needed to compete at Churchill Downs. Now, his trainer is Hori Noriyuki, so obviously coming over from Japan here, and he has come into this race off of a designated series of races in Japan to be able to make it to the Kentucky Derby as well. He's won them oh so impressively. So Luxa Cafe for your exotics to use underneath journalism for the Kentucky Derby.
Who's going to do the Riders Up call? Is it being announced?
I don't know.
I've only copped there during the golf, but the golfer Justin Thomas is from Kentucky. I wonder will he get because you get some big names there, don't you?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I can't now remember.
It's on the racing bucket list for me.
Absolutely.
I know, isn't it? If one day, if we
infield looks weekend winners live.
If we can ever get Americanisms translated over here and we get Stormzy doing Riders Up for the Derby or something, it would just be the best thing ever. One day I may just get my wish. It definitely beats that. Right, do let us know who you fancy for the Kentucky Derby, and if you're staying up for the race itself, let us know in the comments section below as we head over to the sofa to give you our best bets for the weekend, as well as an early look ahead to the 1,000 guineas. Now, it's time to take an early look ahead of the 1,000 guineas. We are recording before we have any declarations. They're starting to filter through now, but of course we don't have a draw or anything. This is more just an early look and a gauge of it as well. So, Sam, in terms of who you're looking at first and foremost for the 1,000 guineas?
Well, from a bookmaking hat, we need Desert Flower Beat. Obviously, very warm favourite and deserves huge respect arriving here with the perfect record. But I've had one bet already in the race, and it's an absolute flyer. But I thought Chantilly Lace is a really curious runner. Was she half to 10 Sovereigns, who was a really nice horse, and only seen the once right at the back end of last season, and that came in heavy ground. So we're going to need to see completely different conditions, obviously, at HQ on Sunday. We'll be expecting that ground to be so quick by the end of the weekend, I think. But I do hold out hope that she'll handle it, and also that she'll take a massive step forward. Interestingly, the race that she won was also used by Remarquet, who went on to finish down the field in the 1,000 last year. She took a different route, though, because she went to Newbury and won the Fred Darling in preparation for that race, whereas Rafe Beckett's chosen to send her straight here this time round, which I think is really intriguing. We saw a few quid for it midweek as well, which I think is always a nice sign, and I just wonder if she can step forward. It's a huge ask off the one run, but I think she could be an each-way play.
Yeah, a nice price as well then, and one that you said you had already backed a while back.
Yeah, well, this was this week, so I thought it's only fair. When you hear a few things, you sort of think, well, let's see. But it is a big roll of the dice to come here. But I'd be confident she won't be a back marker. Rafe Beckett knows what he's doing. Yeah, different conditions, like you say, to have to deal with. But all the same, when those whispers start going around there, especially for those kind of connections too, then you do have to take note. Less original for me. I'm hoping that you are very miserable, because I hope that Desert Flower does go and win this. For all that in the build-up to the race, I did think there was probably a little bit too much discrepancy between her price and Lake Victoria's, but they're two very different fillies, aren't they? Now, Desert Flower, though, she is 4 from 4 in her career, improving with each of her starts as well, including the Group 1 Fillies Mile when last seen, beating January by even further than she did in the May Hill, which we're looking at now. But the margin probably didn't reflect the manner of victory, really, despite her doing it strongly, even though she edged slightly right and January weakened out of things. But we do know that this filly, all she does is gallop, rather than Lake Victoria. She is just that speedier type, and
we spoke about it earlier on in relation to the 2,000 guineas, the difference between the 2,000 guineas horses and the 1,000 and the 1,000 guineas with the fillies. They tend to be the horses that go on to the Oaks and are more stamina-laden in time. So I'm hoping history will repeat itself in that sense, and that Desert Flower will be the one rather than Lake Victoria being that speedier, probably more of the 2-year-old type. But again, we're going to do an awful lot of finding. Yeah. Probably a difference between the
prices. A lot of guessing going on this weekend, you know. It's
when is there not?
Well, exactly, yeah. More guessing than usual, I should maybe say.
Yeah, but Desert Flower, though, for me, I just thought that she was the right favourite and the one to beat as well, Dec.
Yeah, I concede. I really like her. She had a massive 2-year-old campaign, didn't she? She was brilliant. I do wonder, though, she a little bit artificially short. Because remember, if you go back, Aidan O'Brien did a stable tour with AtTheRaces.com and Kevin Blake, but you know, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, it sounded like Lake Victoria wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
So that kind of changed the market significantly now. And I wonder, could you get bigger about the favourite? The other thing I would say about her is, on every start that she made, she had a hood on in the stalls, and she was getting better, but she was really slow away in her first couple of starts. Now she did get better as she goes along, but you know, she's clearly had an issue with the stalls in the past. And, you know, William Buick will need to be on his mettle to get her away on terms. The other thing as well was when she bolted up in the Fillies Mile, I think she kind of lugged left going down the dip, and then she hung really badly right out. So you don't know, was she absolutely in love in the track, which is probably a fair thing to say given how far she won by.
Yeah.
But look, I always want a filly in this race that's generally had a run. And the filly that I wanted to bet was actually exactly of Aidan O'Brien's, but it sounds like she's going to go to the French 1000 now instead. So it's not a race with any of those to the horse at the head of the market I wanted to get stuck into at short prices. And I'm also going to take a flyer in the race, but with a filly that we saw on the VT there that was behind your filly in Flight.
Yes.
Now she needs to improve big time, but I think she's got a good pedigree. She's by a wonderful sire in Sayuni. Her dam was Run Wild, who was a really good filly for John Gosden a few years ago. I think a German Distaff pedigree suggests that she'll get better with time. Physically, she absolutely looked like she'd get better with time. And, you know, if you go back and watch the Mayhill again, she travels into it really well, 3 out, like a classy filly, but she just doesn't get home. And I'm just wondering, was that weakness? Now, I got a horse to follow off Ollie Sangster for the At The Races website this week, and he put her up, said she's strengthened over the winter and her work has improved. So at an absolute flyer at a big price, I'm hoping she can maybe run into a place.
Nicely done, and nicely tied in with my VT as well. And also, we talk about intertwining form lines and horses being overpriced with the horse that is beating them on that day. We were talking about it in relation to Wimbledon Hawkeye with the 2,000 guineas, and now we've got another one there with Flight, so well picked out.
It's just, you know, we always say at the start of this race, don't we? It's been a really wet and cold spring and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's why last year we fancied Amalka, but she'd had a run.
Yes, we should mention that.
She'd had a run, but yeah, like I say, if Exactly is declared, I think she's very interesting for the O'Brien team, but it sounds like she's going to go to the 1,000 in France.
Oh, you can save her for then, but at least you flagged her up all the same. But yeah, that's a look ahead to the 1,000 guineas, an early look ahead without draw or final declarations, but at least that's hopefully giving you some sort of an idea all the same. Right, Eye Catchers is back again. Dec, who has caught your eye to go into your ATR tracker this week?
Yeah, the horse I'm going to nominate is Consecrated, trained by William Haggis for the Shively Park stud. There you can see her there in the famous red with the blue cap, and this is her winning at Newbury on April 11th. Now, on sectionals, she did have complete run of the race, and she didn't face an awful lot of pace pressure either. But she really made it count, and just look how strong in front she is galloping. She is a really, really strong galloper, and the further she went, the better she looked. Now, she was entered this weekend in a listed race at Goodwood, but they've decided not to go there, and they might go to York, I think, instead for the Michael Seeley race, a listed race. But, you know, I just love the way she hit the line there. Physically, there's plenty of size and substance to her, and she's got a cracking pedigree as well. She's by Frankel, and she's actually a half-sister to Sacred. Do you remember the horse William Haggis trained as well? Proper 7 furlong horse. She was a cracker when she was around. But you know, she was by Exceed and Excel. With respects to him, he was a good sire. But I think there's probably been a bit of a stallion upgrade there going to Frankel as well. And I loved what she did there. She's bred to be good. And you know, maybe in the fullness of time, if everything goes really smoothly and she progresses, she could end up at Royal Ascot maybe in the Coronation. But I loved what she did that day. She was good, and she's going to be better when she steps up to a mile.
You didn't claim the meaning of the name that I thought then. from our producer was just telling us that she's a half-sister to Sacred because consecrated means to make something sacred.
Yes,
So
you were saying.
I thought you were going to steal that and make yourself look
to be
clever.
fair, I nearly said constipated, so I'm just happy I got her name.
We're just happy we've got her name right at this point, let alone the whole meaning. So consecrated it is for Dec, who caught his eye. Sam, who caught yours?
Yeah, busy week of racing, and as Dec's obviously gone further back, I've gone to Brighton because I caught this on the screen at Punchestown. No, this is exactly the sort of thing I was thinking. And it's a winner at Brighton, but there wouldn't be many horses you'd nominate out of a maiden at Brighton to get impressed by. But just watch this from Eternal Solace. We missed the bump at the start, but this track, if you can handle Brighton, you can win anywhere. Honestly, go and walk it if you ever get the chance, because it's absolutely bonkers. Taking on Dapper Charm here, who was sent off. You'll see that in the Archie Watson Silks, who's making hard work of this at 4 to 9. And then she just comes through here and she absolutely flies home. She was quite weak in the betting, sent off, I think, nearly 6 to 1, 11 to 2, something like that. But the distance she puts between a horse that's got experience, having finished second at the track, so you can't even blame the track for the second finishing so far behind here, really took the eye, eased down at the line. And I tell you what, I really think, considering as Brighton maidens go, I think you wouldn't see a better horse win one like that very often. So Ollie Sangster trains. That horse is now in my tracker.
There you go. 2 mentions of Ollie Sangster then.
Yeah. Go on,
Not
Ollie.
the one he put up for the website though for his horse to follow, but
yeah, yours didn't get a mention, yeah.
No, yeah, didn't get a mention, but still impressive all the same.
Yeah, you'd be really disappointed if she can't follow up.
Definitely so. Right, a couple of eye catchers then to go into the notebooks, but it is best bets of the weekend time. Dec, you're up first again.
Yeah, I struggled a little bit with the best bets this week because there was lots of races that weren't even priced up yet, which was a real shame. So I'm going to stick to what we've covered in the show this week, and the nap's going to be approval for William Haggis and Tom Marquand. I just think on that Goodwood run, he is absolutely very well handicapped off 92. If he's progressed again from 3 to 4, even better. That Goodwood race is working out. Little bit worried about the drop in trip down to 9 furlongs, given how strong he hit the line at Goodwood over 10. But there's a Mark Johnson horse there called Urban Sprawl. Hopefully he will go forward and make it a good even gallop. And he is tactically versatile, as we saw on the show earlier there. He did make all when winning at Windsor earlier in his career. The next best then, I am going to go with Clarendon House, but this is obviously dodgy, isn't it?
And this is what I was saying at the top of the show. Your next best is what the pressure's going to be on for you to complete the hat-trick.
There we go. So I've
Clarendon House of horses.
So I'm hoping the Robert Cowell team and Sean Levy can work their magic and get him away on terms, because if they can, he is a proper 5 furlong sprinter. I actually backed him in the Nunthorpe last year, the big price, because he had York form, but he didn't come out with the stalls, which wasn't great. So I'm hoping I get me money back there. And then the long shot this week, I'm going to put up Green Impact in the 2,000 guineas. Needs to improve, but I don't think he's got that loads to find with the market leaders. He's got a pedigree and he's also got the physique to be better at 3. And if Jesse Harrington has had a good winter with him there, I can see him going off shorter than 16 to 1.
Yeah, 16 to 1 as well. And after you both made very cogent cases for Green Impact earlier on as well, that I'm almost being lured in there for the long shot. Sam, is he going to be your long shot as well?
No, but Dec, just very quickly, you better be back in Clarendon House with us. Run for your money at BetVictor.
There we go.
Always a handy concession to have with these quirky individuals, shall we say.
Yes.
Right.
And the horse.
Turning to my nap then, I'm going to head down to Goodwood, where I'm sure it'll be glorious in this sunshine. Now gelded this horse. I think it's going to be a really interesting season for Consolidation, who was a real talking horse last year. If you remember, was sent off 2 to 1 favourite for a maiden at the glorious Goodwood meeting and finished third that day. Finished behind New Century and ahead of the 2,000 guineas favourite at Doncaster. Now, in fairness to that horse, he did have a bit of an iffy start, so I kind of don't want to read too much into that form, but he's in a 0 to 90 here. He signed off at the end of the season winning on the all-weather at Kempton. He really does look like he should be up to winning off the current mark that he's got, and I think he'll have a good season for Rafe Beckett and Wafnam Racing. Hand of God's my next best. Kate, me and you completely agree with this horse. We've eulogised about him throughout the show. I really think he'll be a good price at 100 to 30. I think it's very fair. Ryan Moore, book to ride, always catches the eye, and I just think he will step forward again. He's going to handle the good to firm ground that we're going to get at Newmarket as well. And then finally, we have to go to Thirsk, don't we? Because the Royal Hunt Cup, be careful how you say that. It's always a really fun betting race. And High Royale, you've got to go back a few years. I think it's September 2022 since he won his only ever race. But he's finished second in a Guineas, let's not forget. He's kind of been a bit lost in the wilderness in his last year or so of racing, I think it's fair to say. But I just fancy Kevin Ryan's horse will have a race in him. I think he's off a competitive mark, and he's actually now 10 to 1 from 8 to 1. He's drifted out a little bit, and I thought double-digit price, I'd play him each way in a really fun race to watch and try and have a flutter in. But come on, High Royale, he deserves a win. He's been having to really battle at the top table, and maybe a challenge like this might just be up his street.
Fun race, not a fun race title.
I really enjoyed Sam putting up Hand of God in his English white. That was good.
Nicely done. Oh, I know, exactly. But it is a great name all the same, though, isn't it? Hand of God, though, 100 to 30. High Royal. I mean, if he manages to pull this out of the bag
I actually think I might have backed him at a big price in the Lockenge last year. Yes. I thought he was way overpriced.
Yeah.
I was hoping he'd finish fourth and it would have been a good earner on the race, but I think the ground was too quick for him. I think he does need a bit of juice.
Yeah, and that race could tee itself up perfectly then for him up at Thirsk. Right, my own nap. It's going to be Field of Gold. Unoriginal. I know it is. In the 2000 Guineas here, of course, the only English classic that John Gosden is yet to win. And also the Craven form as well. As you say, the Craven is the other curse that he's got to overcome in this one. But that Craven win was just oh so impressive. And you just thought, I want to side with this horse in the 2000 Guineas, as did everyone. Hence why his price absolutely collapsed thereafter. And of course, beating Wimbledon Hawkeye then in that contest as well, who I do think is overpriced. And I'll get to him in just a moment, but it is going to be Field of Gold then as my nap at 7 to 4, where I think that that's probably a feasible price, and hopefully the ground just doesn't quicken up too much for a horse that is quite a big, sizable, scopy type as well. There's another just slight concern for him, but in terms of ability and what he's shown, he's the horse to beat. Rumsar is going to be my next best bet in the Group 3 Palace House Stakes over the 5 furlongs, who we saw earlier on winning his most recent start-him listed Ruse Stakes at Ascot. Did that oh so easy as well. Don't draw the conclusion that it was soft ground, as it officially states. It was drying up all the time there, as we know it does at Ascot on the straight track, and I'm expecting it to dry up again, and that will probably suit him more. So 12 to 1 was overpriced, and the aforementioned Wimbledon Hawkeye as well in the 2000 Guineas is just the horse who's been overlooked somewhat. And also, when you think about how keen and gassy he was on that reappearance as well in the Craven, he's one of those horses where he is likely to have just retracted a little bit from that, you'd hope so. And of course, Villada doing so much learning about him now into this 3-year-old campaign, and just to try and get him to settle, which is the most important thing for him. But he's got all the form in the book to be running a big race and placing potentially at 20 to 1. Right, they are my 3 best bets then ahead of this weekend, and that is everything from us on this week's show. So lads, a big thank you to the pair of you two for all of your hard work as per usual. A big thank you to you for watching. Best of luck with your bets this weekend, and we'll be back at the same time next Friday to preview the pick of the weekend action.